Sometime in the far northern wilderness of Minnesota, where winter stretches its pale hands across the earth and silence hangs heavier than snow, a single mother named Emily Hutchkins drove toward a mansion she didn't remember inheriting. Her old Honda Civic shuddered over the icy road, headlights slicing through dawn's fog like trembling knives. The letter had come 3 days ago, smudged ink, legal seals, and a name she hadn't heard since childhood. Vernon Arthur Hutchkins. Her uncle, dead now. The estate, it said, was hers. She should have felt lucky, but there was something in those words. The property must not be sold to strangers. That chilled her deeper than the Minnesota cold. Her 8-year-old son, Jake, slept in the back seat, his breath fogging the glass as pine trees blurred past like shadows of something ancient. The air outside was 20 degrees, but when she crossed the final mile, when the forest opened and that house came into view, she swore the temperature dropped lower still. 3 stories of gray stone, each window rimmed in frost, roof glazed with a mirror of ice that caught the sunrise and scattered it into shards. She parked in silence, engine ticking as it cooled, staring at the house her uncle had lived and died inside. And though she didn't yet know it, what waited beyond that door wasn't an inheritance. It was a secret 50 years deep, and colder than death itself. The front door was frozen shut. Emily had to shoulder it open, breaking through a crust of ice that cracked like bone. The moment it swung wide, a breath of frigid air hit her so hard her eyes watered. Inside, her lungs ached with the shock of it. Colder than outside, colder than any place meant to be lived in. She clicked on a light switch. The chandelier above flickered weakly, bulbs haloed in frost. The house was massive. An entry hall with a curving staircase, walls paneled in dark wood beaded with condensation, and furniture shrouded beneath white sheets like corpses waiting for identification. And everywhere she looked there were space heaters. One in every corner, all humming, all fighting a losing battle against a cold that seemed to crawl up from the foundations themselves. Jake clung to her sleeve. "Mom," he whispered, his voice trembling. "It's colder inside than outside." She wanted to tell him it was just the insulation or bad wiring, or that the place hadn't been lived in for years. But even as she spoke, her own words came out as mist, fading into air that felt wrong. That's when she found the sealed door in the back hall. What should have led to a basement, now replaced with a slab of smooth concrete. Her glove brushed it and she froze. The wall was vibrating. Something beneath them was running. Not pipes, not wind. A rhythmic hum, deep and mechanical. And on the kitchen counter, as if waiting for her, lay an envelope. On it, written in trembling pen, "To whoever comes after, don't dig. Don't ever dig. The cold keeps it dormant." Her heart pounded. Dormant? Beneath her feet, the mansion exhaled, steady, patient, alive. That night, she sat in a roadside motel with the heater screaming and her coffee gone cold, staring at that letter under flickering light. The words blurred, but the meaning didn't. Don't let it thaw. She typed her uncle's name into her phone. Vernon Hutchkins, Ely, Minnesota. And the search results were a graveyard of rumors. A frozen tomb. A veteran who dug through permafrost at night. A man who found something under his land and sealed it himself. Emily laughed once, hollow. Internet ghost stories. But the more she read, the more one truth settled like frost in her chest. Her uncle hadn't been crazy. He'd been guarding something. She looked over at Jake, asleep in the second motel bed, his small hand clutching his toy truck. She couldn't afford to believe in hauntings or mysteries. She had bills, debt, no time for wonder, and yet she couldn't stop thinking about the hum under that floor, the way the air felt alive. When dawn came, she made her choice. They'd go back, not as victims of curiosity, but out of survival. If she could sell the house, maybe she could pay off everything. But deep down she knew it wasn't money waiting in that basement. It was something older, colder, and still awake. The next day they returned. The mansion was exactly as they'd left it, except now the ice was thicker. It had crawled across the walls like veins, sealing the air and glass. In her uncle's study, Emily found what she hadn't noticed before. A leather journal, edges stiff with frost. The handwriting was neat at first, then fevered. Sketches of tunnels, refrigeration systems, coordinates, the word Sub-Zero Chamber 9 repeated across pages. One entry made her heart seize. Core temperature stable. The preservation must endure. What outlives time must stay below. She searched the kitchen until she found the hidden panel, a small metal square behind an ancient furnace. The pry bar screamed against steel as she pulled. Beneath, a sealed door waited, a keypad still lit with faint green power. She punched in every number she could remember, birth dates, years, until she recalled the journal's coordinates. The screen blinked green. The wheel turned, and as she opened that door, air poured out so cold it hurt. A staircase descended into darkness, breath fogging in the beam of her flashlight. When she reached the bottom, she saw what Vernon had built. An underground facility of concrete and steel, vast and silent, lined with crates stamped with government emblems from the 1960s. Inside one, gold bars. Inside another, microfilm. Documents labeled Top Secret. Operation Haven. She was standing in a Cold War ark, a vault meant to preserve civilization if the world ended. And above that endless hum, those machines were still running. By the next morning, someone else knew. A black SUV rolled up the drive, tires crunching on frost. A man stepped out, suit sharp, smile wrong. "Miss Hutchkins?" he said smoothly. "Frank Melville. I represent a group interested in acquiring this property." He slid a card across her palm like a secret. 200,000, no inspection, no questions. Emily's throat went dry. "Why?" she asked. He smiled wider. "Because some places aren't meant to stay buried." She told him no. He drove away, eyes watching her in the rear view. That night the house felt different, too alive. Every vent whispered, every pipe groaned. When she went to check on Jake, the lights flickered, then died. And from beneath the floor, a low voice, her uncle's, crackled through hidden speakers. "If you're hearing this, someone's breached the facility. You have 12 hours to secure the site. Defend the repository at all costs." The walls vibrated with the rising hum of machinery long asleep. Space heaters glowed like beacons against the cold. Emily grabbed her son and ran, but as she reached the front door, the temperature plunged again. Outside, snow began to fall. Behind her, deep below, something mechanical stirred and something older than machines began to wake. In the chaos, she fled downward again. The facility lights now burned bright white, the hum a heartbeat beneath her feet. She found new corridors branching into the dark, each labeled Chamber 7, Chamber 8, Control Room Alpha. The central monitor blinked to life as she approached. Unauthorized access, 11 hours until lockdown. Panic clawed through her chest. But beside the console sat a box of cassette tapes, her uncle's recordings. She pressed play. His voice filled the room, weak, fading, but certain. "Emily, if you're hearing this, I'm gone. The world may never know, but this place, Site 7, was part of something larger. Operation Haven. They built 12 of these facilities, each preserving the world's treasures. And something else." Emily's breath hitched. Vernon coughed, continued. "They called it Project Lazarus, biological, ancient, dangerous. What we preserve isn't just knowledge, it's a pathogen, frozen for 10,000 years. Sample 7. If it thaws, it won't give life. It will twist it," the tape hissed. "Guard it, Emily, or destroy it. But never let them have it." The playback stopped. Somewhere above, footsteps echoed, more men. Emily turned, and for the first time she saw fear turn into resolve. She would not run. Not again. She would guard this. Whatever it was. Sirens wailed in the distance, real this time, police too late. Men in black coats stormed the main hall above, flashlights slicing through ice and smoke. Emily and Jake crawled through a maintenance tunnel, the steel case clutched tight in her arms. When they burst into the forest, the night split with headlights and shouting. "She's got it. Don't let her reach the road." But before they could, red and blue lights flared. Police cruisers boxed the SUVs in. Melville was dragged out, screaming about property of humanity. Emily stood shaking in the snow. Jake pressed to her chest, as officers swarmed the mansion that glowed like a dying star behind her. Days later, she sat before government officials who wanted control, who called her an obstacle. But she refused. Instead, she demanded something impossible: transparency. Site 7, she said, should not belong to one nation but to all. and for the first time in half a century the truth thawed. The world learned what her uncle had guarded, a frozen archive of human history, and a buried warning that survival without wisdom could destroy everything it tried to save. Years passed. The frozen mansion became a sanctuary of science and remembrance, a place where nations once divided by fear now worked side by side. Emily raised Jake there, teaching him that courage wasn't the absence of fear. It was walking into the dark and keeping the light burning anyway. Beneath them the machine still hummed, keeping Sample 7 sealed, frozen, waiting for a world wise enough to face it. The snow still fell every winter, but the house no longer felt cold. In the library, beside Vernon's old journal, Emily wrote her own. Some inherit houses. Others inherit hope. The difference is what you choose to build beneath it. Her story wasn't about riches or secrets. It was about legacy, one built not in stone but in courage. So if you're listening right now, wherever you are, whether it's midnight in your room or morning on your commute, remember Emily's choice. If her story moved you, share it, like it. Tell someone that hope, no matter how frozen, can be thawed again. Now tell me, where are you listening from and what time is it right now as this story ends?